Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Patricia, and I am traveling for history. I'm in Burlington, Vermont today on King Street, and in fact, this is the uppermost portion of King Street. That is South Union Street right there at the crossroad. Why do I say that? If you're going to come and look at these buildings on your own, and why wouldn't you, I suppose? Don't make my mistake and park nearly at the bottom of King Street and walk 3 or 4 blocks uphill. It's not comfortable. All right, so I'm going to be talking about the buildings from here, essentially down to the corner of this block. A little back history. So this area is part of the Battery Street, King Street Neighborhood Historic District, just so you know, which was listed on the National Register of Historic Places on November 2, 1977. Some streets and sections of the streets tended to develop within district time periods. East-west running King Street was not opened east of Church Street, and we are east of Church Street, by the way, until after 1870, when a deep northeast-southwest running ravine that once included a railroad line was filled and leveled. So 2 groups of residences characterize this street. To the west of Church Street is a pre-ravine circa 1840 Greek Revival house and 2 comfortable circa 1870 Italianate houses, while to the east is a very distinct group of circa 1915 2- and 3-unit brick vernacular colonial revival dwellings. They were built just after King Street was opened between Church Street and South Union Street in response to Burlington's intense turn-of-the-century pressure for more moderate income housing. So as I said, I'm going to be talking about the buildings from this building, 212, 214 King Street, down almost to the corner on this side and all the way to the corner on this side of the street. I do have some stories to share about each one, and we'll get to them when we do. I have to chuckle. The entire way I walked up here, there's virtually no traffic on King Street, and now that I'm recording, a ton of noise. I don't know what they're doing behind me. Don't know if you can hear that construction sound, but machinery sounds. I don't know what it is. Anyway, so let's bear with it all and enjoy the recording. So all these buildings here are built as tenement houses, every one of them. Now, a couple weeks ago, I uploaded 3 videos on 4 other Burlington tenement houses in a different area of Burlington near the Winooski border. I'll put a link in the description below. So these are just more tenement houses. So I'm going to read you the definition of tenement housing in the United States, but tenement housing is all over the world. In the United States, the term tenement initially meant a large building with multiple small spaces to rent. As cities grew in the 19th century, there was increasing separation between rich and poor. With rapid urban growth and immigration, overcrowded houses with poor sanitation gave tenements a reputation as slums. The expression, quote-unquote, tenement house was used to designate a building subdivided to provide cheap rental accommodation, which was initially a subdivision of a large house. Beginning in the 1850s, purpose-built tenements of up to 6 stories held several households on each floor. Various names were introduced for better dwellings, and eventually modern apartments predominated in American urban living. So this building in front of us, this brown and tan building, is number 212 and 214 King Street. It was built in 1915. In fact, it was built by Eugene Klaus as part of a subdivision of tenement apartment houses. That's 198 to 214. So we're staying in front of 214, and 198 is down the street at that building right there. J.W. Moss, the secretary for the Burlington Drug Company, and S.H. Vilas were the first tenants. All right, now walking down the street a little bit. right, so this is number 208, 210 King Street. This was built in 1914. Was also built by Eugene Klaus as part of that subdivision of tenement houses here on King Street. Okay, so in front of us now is number 207 King Street, and 209. So this house was built in 1918 for A.L. Bailey of Bailey's Music Rooms as tenement apartments. These buildings were a part of the last drive to develop the downtown area to meet the demand for working and middle-class housing in the early 20th century, and like the others on this block, were designed as multi-unit dwellings. Patrick Walsh, the Burlington agent for the American Express Company, and John McConnell, who owned a Church Street women's clothing store, were the first tenants. How neat is that? All right, let's walk down to the next one here. And note these are a mix of wood and brick structures. All right, so this one is 203, 205 King Street, built in 1917. This house was built in 1917 for A.L. Bailey of Bailey's Music Rooms as tenement apartments. These buildings were a part of the last drive to develop the downtown area to meet the demand for working and middle-class housing in the early 20th century, and, like the others on this block, were designed as multi-unit dwellings. The first tenants were Clifford Colburn, a Packard salesman, that's a car, and Julius Green, an insurance agent. I only told you that Packard was a car in case you had never heard of a Packard. Went out of business forever ago. But I remember my mother, who was born in 1936, talking about how Packards were just like the Cadillac of their era. All right, let's continue down the street, shall we? All right, so the building right in front of us, which has burned. You can see there are signs saying authorized personnel only, danger, restricted area. This is number 199 King Street. This was built in 1922. This structure is one of Burlington's earliest and relatively few apartment buildings. One of the first tenants was James P. Whalen, a ticket agent at the Union Station. That's a train station, by the way. Alrighty, so this brick structure in front of us, I've only seen the number 204 on it, but I think it could be 206 as well. So, so this house, a brick one, was built by Eugene Klaus, remember him at the start, as part of a subdivision of a tenement apartment houses. G.F. Valentin, a traveling salesman, and F.W. Kehoe, the registrar at the University of Vermont, were the first tenants. And then right here, in front of us, is 198 200 King Street, built in 1915. The house is nearly identical to the brick version and was built by Eugene Klaus as part of this subdivision of tenement apartment houses. Elias Lyman Jr. was one of the initial residents while working as a young clerk in his father's coal firm. So these were tenement houses providing lower prices for housing for people in lower middle class and middle class jobs. This one in front of us, that one, and 214-16, as well as this one in front of us, that one, and the next one up. Alrighty, hope you enjoyed this video of Upper King Street. It looks like these are still apartments, without a doubt. And ivy. Ivy looks nice on a building. I think that's ivy anyway. It looks nice on a building, but it's really not good for the building. So, anyway, thanks so much for coming along with me. This has been Patricia. I'm traveling for history. And until the next time, You have a great day. Bye.